Hello, this is Igor Stenmark of MGI Research. We are at Monetize Forum 2021 conference. Every year, there's a lot of chatter in the industry about increasing adoption of usage-based pricing. And this is evident in our field research and advisory work and in conversations with both users and suppliers. There have always been extensive applications of usage-based models in areas like telecom, utilities, but what about the broader industry? How close are we to a real inflection point in adoption for usage-based models beyond telecom? The pandemic has really pushed many planners to think about this opportunity, the consumption-based models, from a totally different angle. It's not just a exotic option anymore, but potentially a strategic approach to get real market share. So in our next session here, we will focus on key concepts of what is described by some as the usage economy, notably a heavy emphasis on consumption-based models. And we have a perfect person today to join us in this discussion, Mr. Andreas Zartmann, who is the CEO and the business brain behind DigitalRoute. And DigitalRoute is a global provider of revenue data management technology. I'll let Andreas later on introduce the company. And this is known in the industry also as mediation. And we've actually published a lot of notes about this topic, a few notes on this topic, and we refer to it often as mediation 2.0. Andreas has very extensive experience in the software and technology industry across a spectrum of stages of maturity. He's been with startups and he's been with some very large publicly traded companies. Originally, Andreas joined DigitalRoute in 2012 as a CFO. In 2017, he became a CEO and really is driving the next phase of this company's growth. Prior to DigitalRoute, Andreas held key executive roles in various software and technology companies. He's also been a management consultant. He's also been an investment banker. So he's got kind of a breadth and a depth of expertise to really both drive this company, but also he's a perfect guest for us to discuss this issue of usage-based, consumption-based pricing. Andreas holds an MBA from Linköping University in Sweden. Andreas, welcome to Monetize Forum 2021. Let's talk about the usage economy here. So let's jump right in. We have a lot of questions for you today, but to begin, just give us a brief introduction to DigitalRoute. What are you guys all about?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much, Igor, for the introduction. I'm very happy to be part of the event. DigitalRoute, Swedish tech company, provides purpose-built technology to enable, the world's leading brands shift in business models from one-time product sale to usage-based revenues. We are born and raised in the telecom industry, where we gained 20 years of experience building enabling software for the most demanding quote-to-cash processes there is. And today, we have more than 400 companies across industries that rely on our usage data platform for usage-based monetization, quote-to-cash automation, finance system modernization or consolidation, if you like, and of course, telecom, 5G mediation is a big business for us.
Great, great. What do you think? So lots of companies talk about adopting new business models. We want to grab market share. We have now a basic subscription. We want to marry it up with some sort of consumption-based model. We want to do prepaid. Maybe we want to do postpaid. Oftentimes it all translates into just talk, and there's a lot of kind of barriers to adoption. What do you think is holding companies back?
That's a great question. I think, the simple answer to that is that this shift in business models, and specifically to usage-based business models, is not easy. Usage-based business models are pretty complex under the hood. And this shift is not only affecting billing, but all the applications that is part of the quote-to-cash process. All this application needs clean usage data in order to keep the revenue records right in the ERP system at the end of the process. The ultimate goal for the process as such. And then on top of that, companies are dealing with rapidly growing data volumes, right? This also adds to the complexity causing a lot of new problems on top of this transformation, with a lot of dirty data and low quality data and so forth. And on top of that, enterprises IT landscapes are very, very complex. I mean, many times these are more complex than telecoms, where we have standards for a lot of stuff and almost everything. Enterprises have to deal with many legacy systems, from mainframes and to new cloud systems and so forth, and also have to deal with generations of data. And as a matter of fact, and true story, usage data resides in a wide range of disparate data sources you need to collect from, and that needs to happen in real time at very large volumes. And then you need to turn this raw data into a high quality data set that you need for recording that usage-based revenue without any loss at the same time. So enterprises need to solve for these problems without having to rebuild their entire IT infrastructure. So to summarize, it's a damn complex transformation to solve for, and ultimately all these challenges in the transformation to new business models are about data challenges.
So it sounds like data fidelity, data speed, data
Right.
volume, data consistency, cleanliness. So there's a lot of kind of aspects that people need to take care of. So when companies are trying to make a move, say from like a basic pricing model to a consumption usage-based model, what advice would you give to CEOs, CIOs, CFOs who are considering this, thinking, well, we have enough technical depth to really go handle it, we have good people. What sort of advice would you share with us and with the audience? And what are some of the use cases, some of the stats, some major kind of benchmark markers?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, don't hold back. I think that's the main advice. Usage-based services is definitely the future. It's a better deal for your end customer. You're getting closer to your end customer. And at the end of the day, it's a more sustainable model as well, right? So even though there is complexity, there is a huge untapped revenue opportunity to grab. And it's proven companies with usage-based business models grow faster than others with only a flat fee. Secondly, all of this starts with data, as we just said. It's a digital business model. So get control of your usage data specifically, because the core of every digital business model is usage data. And if you control your usage data, you can open up new revenue streams, as simple as that. Number three, make sure that you build a quote to cash process that is flexible enough to adapt to new business models and also build for scale from the very beginning. Your business models will change as demand change. So you need to be able to easily offer new kinds of services based on usage, and your data volumes will definitely not stop to grow. It's the opposite, right? So don't take that into account from the very beginning. And number four, I think, don't build a solution to process that usage data yourself. Over and over again, we see how homegrown solutions lead to lost data, and at the end of the day, that's lost revenues. So instead, start with a platform that is purpose-built for monetized usage-based revenues.
So it sounds like, in conclusion, go find an expert who has done it before at a few hundred companies. I think that's a pretty
That's a good conclusion.
Sage advice, I think, in something as complex as that. So we have, as you know, we have this reference model, what we call Agile Monetization Platform, or AMP. And it looks, I'm not going to show it here, but it looks like a data bus. And we've used this kind of a graphic for the conference here and in our research. Data bus are essentially connecting all the major disciplines. There, things like billing and financials, all hanging off that data bus and sharing information, data, and events. And essentially, in many ways, I guess what you guys do is a data bus. And you guys describe it as a usage data platform. So what is exactly your product? What are you guys, what's your offering? What do you guys do?
Yeah. So first, I think, we like the position that you refer to in your picture, being the element that connects the various financial systems in the quote to cash process. But we don't like the buzzword, but because we're, much more than a data bus. The usage data platform, first of all, is purpose built to orchestrate and monetize usage data. I think that's very important. And we like to talk about it as the three components of mediation, usage management, and entitlements together. Collect, transform, and process data from any kind of data source at any kind of volumes without any data loss. Clean, aggregate, correlate that data, and enrich it to that golden record you need for recording your revenues. That basically mediation, if we simplify. Then on top, we add in the intelligence in our usage management solution. And that is about enabling complex business models, innovate on top of what you already have. And then you wrap that with business logics and the rules around this, the business models that you're offering your end customer. And that's often referred to as entitlements or policy controls, as we used to call it in the telecom. So all these three components together complete a very powerful, reliable engine designed from the very beginning to simplify that complexity that we talked about when it comes to usage-based revenues.
So it sounds like if you have very complex billing or quotation requirements, oftentimes the complexity is because of the usage data, and without usage data's platform of some sort, it will remain very complex.
Right.
And before you solve it, try to simplify the problem, number one, by using something like a UDP. Looking at your product, I think a lot of people in our audience will probably think, well, this sounds a bit to me like application integration middleware, like maybe like MuleSoft. And in fact, MuleSoft, which is owned by Salesforce, you guys are partnered with Salesforce and have joint customers. What do you guys do? What problems do you address but cannot be solved by traditional middleware products?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a question that we often meet in discussions with our customers and very early in the process as well. So just start with, middleware products are built for other purposes than monetizing usage data and mainly integration between applications. And you're right, our partners all have many different middlewares or data integration tools. Great products, by the way. And we're often, seen together, and we always, I believe, coexist in the same architecture, but for different purposes. So that's very important. The usage data platform, on the other hand, is purpose-built for monetizing usage data, and we are trusted by our customers to handle their data for usage-based revenues. And this trust is built on requirement from the business, requirement from finance, requirement from compliance, on top of solving for that complexity and the volumes that we were talking about before. We perform and process very complex business logic, which at the end of the day turns into revenues. If anything goes wrong, you start to leak revenues. And I think the distinction between ESBs, ETL, middlewares, and our platform was actually sharpened in the telecoms industry, where requirements, for data volumes and solving for that complexity, both from the business model itself, but also from the IT landscape, increased to a level where it just needed to be a specific standardized software to handle usage-based revenue. And that's where we are born and raised, and that's what we built and solved for 20 years.
Andreas, you mentioned revenue leakage. We kind of track that as it's a very popular topic with many of our clients in the finance industry, and we ourselves estimate that the leakage is about an average 3 to 5% of revenues, and there are estimates out there from large accounting firms like E&Y that cite even higher figures. What's, in your view, what causes revenue leakage? How is that related to usage-based data, and how do you eliminate that?
Yeah, great. I think, mainly if just to simplify it and keep it short here, mainly three different areas that cause revenue leakage. First of all, siloed architecture, and most often actually too many middleware elements while we're talking about that. A large amount of revenue leakage occurs in the back office as a result of having more than one platform responsible to orchestrate the usage data between applications, because this is a process, as we know, right? And that kind of architecture causes a lot of errors, as these systems are not built for the data quality required for monetization and revenues at the end of the day. Secondly, there is tons of manual work. I mean, we always see, and I mean, we're dealing with multi-billion-dollar businesses, very large enterprises, having big teams handling massive amount of manual work, inserting data into Excel files, or manually sending emails to trigger the next process in the chain, and so forth and so forth. So lack of persistent automation of data management processes is really a key driver for revenue leakage. And then number three, volumes of data. I mean, the simple truth is that when applications cannot cope with volumes, they start to lose data, and that's revenue leakage, right? And we see that over and over again. Overload of backend systems causing crashes, resulting in a lot of leakage. So, and to solve for these things, implement one platform to manage all of your usage data, because that's equal to revenues, right? And you should also put a lot of demand on that kind of platform for 100% error correction, compliance, audit, and all of that. And then build robust automated workflows. Eliminate all those human errors that occurs from having those teams stitching together Excel sheets. And number three, implement for scale from the very beginning. There is platforms built for scale, and this rapid increase of data volumes that you see, it's a huge source problem for leakage as well. And we built a platform 20 years of investments, which is purpose-built to solve for this problem. So there is available technology.
So if you can, maybe share with us some examples of how some of your client companies are handling this, and what constitutes high volume, what constitutes big scale?
I mean, billions of transactions, of course, and just a very good example that we often take, because it's such a tremendous volume. One of the large enterprises in Asia launched new services, onboarded 130 million subscribers in 170 days onto the platform. That kind of volumes, and volumes is just one aspect, but the complexity as well. When you have many different products you would like to turn into digital services, you have many different price plans. So and on top of that, you have many customers that wants to consume your services. If you add those three things up, it's pretty complex, right? So that's what's driving.
Got it. We're almost coming to an end of our time slot. I wanted to ask you, what is kind of one thing that no one knows about DigitalRoute, but they should?
I mean, we earned our trust for many years by processing usage data for some of the world's largest revenue streams at some of the world's largest brands. And if you're looking at any consumption-based business model or outcome-based business model, come and talk to us. We will not only provide technology, but we also provide 20 years of experience to make your shift to new revenue, to new user-based revenue successful.
Great. Thank you very much, Andreas. Really appreciate you participating in the conference. I'd like to remind everyone that there's more information available at the DigitalRoute virtual exhibit booth. And I'm sure Andreas and his team would be happy to answer any additional questions. We're out of time. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of Monetize Forum 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Igor.